All right, looks like we've got a decent number of folks on the call, so I think we can go ahead and get started. Thanks for joining the What's New on Everlaw training for release number 127, which just came out last week. So like I said at the beginning, my name is Margot. I'm a member of Everlaw's user education team, and I'm joined by my colleague, Alex. I'll be leading the training today, and then Alex will be answering any questions you have in the chat. So please send those questions over in the Q&A tab on the right side of your screen. And at this point, I'm also going to hide my video just so you all can see as much of the screen as possible today. Give me a moment to do that. Cool. Okay, so let's go over our agenda. Today I'm going to cover the new and updated features in this release, and then I'll share some new training resources and upcoming events. If there's time after all that, we'll address any outstanding questions at the end. And this release included improvements to several different parts of the Everlaw platform, including document review, search, story builder, and general administration. All right, so let's get into the new and updated features. And we're going to start with those features that are related to directly to document review. So first up is a feature that we're super excited about at Everlaw, which is the ability to redact portions of spreadsheet cells, also referred to as partial cell redactions. So previously, if a spreadsheet cell contained sensitive information like a social security number along with other info, you had to redact the entire cell and lose all of the surrounding context within the cell. So now you can redact portions of a cell while leaving the rest of the text visible. And this reduces over-redaction, so you're only hiding the truly sensitive pieces like social security numbers or names while leaving the rest of the cell visible and usable. It also eliminates unideal workarounds like editing the spreadsheet in Excel or converting it to PDF. And lastly, the same partial cell redaction behavior we'll take a look at is available for individual document redactions, batch redactions to multiple documents, and hit highlight redactions. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at this in the Everlaw platform. So I've got a binder here with a document I'm going to use I'm going to open up this spreadsheet, and I'm going to toggle on the redaction tool here. So we can see that cell B2 here has already been fully redacted. But let's say I want to partially redact the contents in cell B3. Instead of just clicking on the cell, which you would do to redact it entirely, I'm going to double click on the cell. And then I'm going to use my cursor to select the specific text I want to redact. So maybe I just want to redact this first part of the email address. I can then choose a redacted stamp if I want. I'll pick this PII stamp and then click Done. And now we'll see that in this view, the partially redacted cell has these gray shaded lines here to indicate that it's not a full redaction like the cell above. I'm going to turn off the redaction mode here too. And it's still got those gray shaded lines. And we can see that when I have this cell selected, so I've clicked on it with my mouse, the formula bar at the top here shows me a preview of what the redacted cell contents will look like when I actually produce this document. Now, cooking show style, I have already produced this document, so we can see the final version. And to do that, I will click on the clock icon over here on the left, and then I'm going to click into the produce version. And looks like that redaction actually didn't go through. Let me double check this here, but it would ideally have the redacted text. It would look just like we see it in this preview here. But if I go back to my slides, I can show you exactly what it would look like here too. It would say redacted instead of the name that we redacted. And if we choose to add the PII stamp, like we did in just a moment ago, it would also have the PII redaction stamp text here as well. Again, it would look just like what it's showing us in the formula bar here. Now, as I mentioned, this functionality is also available in hit highlights. So if I go to the hit highlights tab and then click on my first names here, and then select this specific name, we see that the hit is highlighted over here on the spreadsheet. If I click on the gear icon, we'll see that I have a new option that says redact entire cell when a hit is found. If I want to just partially redact this cell, I can toggle this off. And now when I redact all instances of this hit, it'll give me a preview to select a stamp if I want. I won't choose one here. And we'll see the gray bars again, indicating that this is a partial redaction. And again, the formula bar shows me the preview of what the text would look like when this was produced. I also want to point out that it's also possible to apply both a full redaction, click over here, and a partial redaction to a single cell. Now, if a cell has more than one redaction like this, in this case we have 2 redactions, you can cycle through them over on the annotations tab on the right. And if I go to my native redactions and expand this, and I look at my cell B6, I'll see that it says there are 2 redactions here, and I can use these arrows to preview those 2. So this first redaction is a full redaction. The entire cell is redacted. And if I go to the next one, we can see the partial redaction here. If this is the case and there are multiple redactions on a single cell, note that the full cell redaction is going to take precedence, so the entire cell will be redacted when this document is produced. Now, like I said earlier, you can also redact portions of cells when using the batch redaction feature to redact multiple documents at once, too. Cool. Okay, I'm going to move us on to our next feature, but if you have further questions about that, let me know in the chat. Alex will answer them, and then I can also try to show more things at the end if there's time. All right, so with our next feature, we've improved the bridge between early case assessment and review projects. For those who don't know, early case assessment, or ECA, is Everlaw's low-cost environment for large data sets where you can use search and analytics to cull your data before promoting relevant documents into a full functionality review project. Now, when you promote documents from an ECA project to a review project, you're going to see this new option to add a promotion note of up to 256 characters. And this lets you add specific details about the reason for promoting documents, which can be helpful for those who are planning and conducting review in that review project. Additionally, with this release, the promotion codes are now going to be searchable in your review projects as well, not just in ECA. All right, so let's move on to some new features related to searching. So first up, we're making modern attachments like Google Drive links and emails easier to track. You can now use the has linked document search term to find any document that contains a cloud-hosted link. And this is helpful for spotting gaps in your collection where you might need to go back and request the linked files as well. So let's take a look at this in the platform. I'm going to go back into Everlaw and go to the search page. And I can find this has linked documents term on the left under the document category. So I'll choose show more terms. And then I'm going to select the has linked documents term. We can see that there are 12 documents here that have linked documents. And when I click search here and go to my results table, I can now see the number of the documents in this linked documents column too. And this allows me to see the presence of linked documents at a high level instead of just when I'm looking at one individual document. Moving on here, with this release, we've also added a new metadata field called chat message count. And you can use this metadata field to search for chats with an exact message count or a range of number of messages. And this is useful for allowing you to quickly spot unusually long or short chat segments, and in particular, prioritizing those really dense chats for early review. All right, that's it for search. Next up, we have our new story builder features. And so for this first one here, we're building onto the recently released fact timelines feature, and we've now added a new advanced timeline view. So this view spaces out your facts based on their actual dates, which can help you more quickly see periods of intense activity, long lulls, and how key events relate to one another across the case. So let's take a look at this in the platform as well. I'll click the quill icon to go to Story Builder. And then I'm going to click into my fact timelines over here on the left. And I'm going to choose the wrongful termination dispute. And just so it's a little easier to see, I'm going to hide this date visualizer. And then I'm going to collapse all of the facts so we can see multiple facts per page. And at the top right, so this is where I have the toggle, where I can go back to the basic list that you were seeing before, or the advanced timeline. So the basic list does show my facts in chronological order, but if I switch to the advanced timeline, we'll see that these facts have visual gaps that reflect how far apart they are in time. So the months and years are shown on the left. And then when there's a gap in activity, we'll see these slashes and then a message that says something like this, where there were no facts between February 1st, 2023 and March 1st, 2024. Again, it's just helping us get a sense for periods of activity and lulls in activity too. If you have any facts that don't have any dates associated with them, those are going to show up in the bottom here in a section called facts with no date. And this keeps your undated evidence organized without cluttering up the rest of your timeline here. While this is an option to have facts with no date, I do also want to remind folks that even if you don't have an exact date for a fact, you can add a broader date range by clicking on the edit button here, or check this box that says this is an approximate date if you're not sure exactly when the event occurred. And that will show up like these first couple facts here where it says it's approximate. Cool. So that is the new advanced timeline view. Another thing we've done in Story Builder is make some improvements to testimony citations. So now if you type out or paste a transcript citation like Carter 6, 5-8 into a draft or deposition, Everlaw now automatically creates a hyperlink, and clicking this link will take you to those exact lines in the transcript, and those lines will be highlighted. So you can very clearly see the related testimony. Everlaw's AI writing assistant also, or has always included these transcript citations when it generates responses. But now these citations have this hyperlink, and it's very easy for you to go to that transcript and verify the content, as we always recommend you do with our generative AI features. Now, related to this, when you select text in a transcript, you now have this option to copy the text with citation. And this automatically appends the page and line numbers to your clipboard. And now when you paste it into a draft or deposition, that citation will be linked. All right, let's move on to some of the new administrative features in this release. So first up here, users with the code's admin permission level that's shown here can now run their own CSV imports to create and apply codes to documents. Now, this change enables coding specialists to create coding schemes and apply codes to documents at scale without relying on project admins to do this, and without impacting other review work like redactions or notes. The actual steps for importing codes are largely the same as they were for project admins, except for now, project admins are going to see this option to import just CSV columns related to codes, whereas codes admins won't see this option because their imports are automatically going to be restricted to just those columns related to codes. All right, moving on. We've also added tracking for an analytic event whenever a user downloads documents from their native upload card from here, like in the image. So this supports security and compliance auditing by allowing teams to track whenever a user locally downloads native files. And this action is tracked under the project management menu on the historic user activity section. And it's going to be described like it is here by the folder and file downloaded and the name of the data set. One quick note here, these events are going to only appear in the historic activity for downloads that happen after this feature was released on March 11th. Our next feature here allows single sign-on or SSO users to update their own display information like their name and job title directly from their Everlaw profile without needing a SSO admin or Everlaw support to make the change on their behalf. So users can do this in their individual account settings. And when a user changes their name or title, it's not going to change their SSO identity, their login method, or their email address. SSO users who need to change their email address specifically should still contact Everlaw support for help. But again, if they just need to change their name or title, they can do that entirely on their own now. Now, as mentioned in the last release, the cloud connection to Microsoft 365 has officially been removed. So to continue collecting Microsoft data, you're going to want to set up a connection to Microsoft Purview using Everlaw's Purview Cloud Connector if you don't have one already. So Purview is a purpose-built solution for investigation and e-discovery, which allows for more comprehensive data capture. And customers who have been using the Office 365 connector should have access to Purview as well. But if you need help getting started with the Purview connector, again, please reach out to our customer support team. All right, I also want to let everyone know about a new upcoming training event, which is our upcoming webinar on March 31st about predictive coding. So this session is perfect for anyone involved in document review, from reviewers to case managers to attorneys. So if you're dealing with large document sets and you're looking for practical ways to work more efficiently, prioritize your review queue, or quality check your coding decisions, this webinar is for you. So we'll show you how to integrate predictive coding into Everlaw tasks you already perform, like searching, filtering, and using Data Visualizer, to help you find those key documents faster. And this session is part of our broader AI and e-discovery webinar series, and we're going to drop the link to sign up for that in the chat now. All right, so those were all the new features and resources. We do have a little bit of time left, so I'll pause here and open it up for Q&A, see if folks have any questions about the new features. So go ahead and send those over in the Q&A tab on the right. Oh, someone's asking, can you open an email that shows linked documents? Yeah, let me go ahead and go back to that. So I'm going to go to my search and then find the has linked documents term. Let me open up one of these emails here. And so we can see that this email has a link to a Google Drive file. And so now also when I'm in here and looking at the document metadata, there should be a has linked documents field there. Sorry, I don't think it's actually a metadata field. But we can see that there is a linked document in here. And so if you're looking at an individual document, it's a little more obvious. But if you've got lots of documents that may or may not have linked documents, using the search term and then adding the linked documents column is a nice way to see that at a high level, so you don't have to go one by one. Let me know if that shows you what you were looking for, or if you have more questions about that. Thanks for asking. Any other questions or things that folks would like to see? Question, will the linked documents be added as a metadata field at some point? I think it depends what you mean by metadata field there. If you are talking about, if you're wanting to produce that information, I think that might be something you can produce. I need to double check. And let me look at this document again here, see if I might be missing something. But I'm imagining you're saying it would be helpful to see that number in the metadata tab here. I can take a note to look into this. I've got your name with your question, so thanks for asking that. I will go ahead and take a look at that and then follow up with you afterwards. Cool. Any other questions? Cool. A couple more questions coming in. Folks are asking, how do I see the actual linked document? That will depend on if the document was provided to you when it was produced or when these documents were collected. So in this example, it looks like while this email was shared, the actual document itself has not been uploaded to Everlaw. So you'd need to, this would be an example of where you might want to go back to the producing party or to the source you collect this data from and request the full document here. Someone was asking here if we would see it as an attachment. I believe if it was provided, you would see it in the attachment context over here. But since we're not seeing it here, it seems like this Google Drive file has not been provided itself. All right, thanks for the questions, everyone. Feel free to keep sending those over in the next couple minutes if you'd like. But I do want to make sure we get to a couple more things here. So before we wrap up, I'm going to launch a poll here, similar to the one that we launched at the very beginning. Would love to get a sense for how you're feeling about the new features now that we've talked through them. So go ahead, do me a favor, fill out that poll. It should show up in the poll tab on the right side of your screen. Cool. Well, I will stick around, see if there are more questions, but just want to say thank you all for joining this edition of What's New at Everlaw. Before you go, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could take a moment to fill out our short feedback survey. We're always looking to improve our training offerings, so we'd love to know what you liked about today's session and what could be better. So that link will be shared in the chat momentarily as well. Cool. Thanks for filling out that poll. It looks like folks are generally feeling a little more confident with the features, which is great to see. I do also want to encourage folks to get in touch with our customer support team if you have more questions. You can always find their info on this question mark here. I generally recommend view all help resources. And then you can see their phone and email address here. All right, I think we can call it there. Thanks, everyone. I really appreciate your questions.